Alright, ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? It's Friday, March the 6th, 2020. Welcome to another metallic episode of Music of Destruction right here on YouTube. Catching up on videos since I didn't upload anything for the past 7 days previous to the last 3 videos I just put up. Been really busy with other stuff, so we're pumping out a bunch of videos this week for you guys. Alright, so tonight's review is of a rather obscure black metal band from Alton, Illinois, and this is a band that is not well known at all, at least not from what I've seen. I can't even find any live footage of them on YouTube, which is why I don't have any videos of them in the background or live performance. I just have the band logo and the album cover. Sorry about that, guys. Couldn't find any footage, and I can't even find any audio tracks of them on YouTube either, which is quite weird. Now, which band is this, you might be asking? Warghoul, Rat Kultura, which was released in 2006 on Chunks of Meat Records and is a hidden gem. Now, as far as I know, the band split up way back in 2006, but released a Discography compilation album last year, which is comprised of all 3 of their albums, 2 demos, and this full-length Rat Kultura. Now, the lineup was as follows. We have Nick Bozovich on vocals, guitar, bass, Buck Goodrum on drums, guitar, lead, and orchestrations, and James Duff on guitars, lead, and guitars, rhythm and lead guitars. And hey, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you don't miss anything. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Music of Destruction. Join us in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Music of Destruction. The Seed episode 18, The History of Black Sabbath part 3, is up on Patreon for those of you who support the channel. Get access to all these podcasts and other perks by becoming a pledge member. Patreon.com/Music of Destruction. Select the $5 tier, and you will be able to check out these podcasts. Thank you for all of your kind-hearted support. Alright, so the album opens with a really ancient-sounding keyboard passage, almost like it's a calling to the ancient gods. At times, with the ambient track simply titled Awakening, which goes on for about 30 seconds, before it breaks into the primitive banger with Elder Gods, which is 2 minutes and 20 seconds of pure primitive black metal with themes of a world that was wasted by humanity and beckoning for the Elder Gods to come and make things right again here. Amazing primal drumming and old school riffing that is a harken back to the days of Darkthrone, at least that's what I hear. And it's so cold sounding in its production that you feel like you're inside the atmosphere that this track creates. The bass can be heard quite well, and these 3 maniacs are awesome at creating that old school primal feel that permeates this 34-minute long album, but it's not for lack of substance, even though it's kind of short, because what we have here is fucking awesome, which then gives way into the track Konig's Graveferd, which is all about the ancient Viking battles and the glory of the old times and sticking true to your history and heritage and never forgetting where you come from. And the music presented on this track definitely illustrates this quite well and is cold and primal with some great lead work along those black primal riffs and primal black metal rasping. And Nick does this very well, spewing his rage and venom into the microphone. This is a really primitive track, and it does its job well at conveying its intended atmosphere here, which is ice cold and primal. Absolutely killer song with a slower part with some soft spoken vocals that round it off nicely. Awesome stuff. Great track here as well. Next, it breaks into To Are Dead, and this is one of my favorites on the album as it leads into the song with a really awesome ancient sounding call to the honor of the fallen with some amazing cold riffing and primitive drumming and bass, which is what this album does best. It's rooted in being primitive, I should say, and it's fucking awesome. It really is. It really feels like a trip into ancient times of battle and glory with swords and shields held high, as it has a really Viking-like feel to the atmosphere and riffing. The drumming, very killer, very simplistic, with Nick singing and chanting like a warlord, leading his men into battle. Great song. And the bass is so prevalent on this album too, and that's one of the best things about this album, as well as the production, which is cold and raw and makes the music sound even more old and primitive. Amazing song here as well. Next, it breaks into the track As the Tides Change, and we have more of that primitive Darkthrone influenced riffing and coldness, but this one is a lot faster and more ferocious, almost like the battle is in full swing and swords and bodies are being slain and laid. Chew Waste. This one has a more raw production than the previous tracks on the album, which make it sound even more ice cold and dark, with visions of eternal night and ice cold winds and a moon full of ice that will send chills down your spine. That's what the riffs do, and the drumming and the bass. It's fucking awesome. Killer song here with an atmosphere that is absolutely unparalleled. I really hope you guys can find this album, because this is some killer primitive black metal. Next up, we get my absolute favorite on this album with Spectres in Wait. And this one is all about death and embracing the inevitable with a deep fascination with darkness and beckoning for a release from this foul world. And the riffing and drumming on this really illustrate the misanthropy that overshadows this record. Yes, there are themes here about ancient war and ancient times, but what the album is really about atmospherically to me is about moving beyond this modern society and going back to our old ways when times were simpler, when life felt better and there wasn't so much bullshit in the world. And I think that's one of the main goals of Warghoul's music, is taking us back to those ancient times and reminding us of where we come from and what the true essence of life is, which is being in the moment, embracing it, and not getting caught up in all the bullshit. So great track with Spectres in Wait, and it's about death, embracing the inevitable with deep fascination with darkness and beckoning for a release from this foul world. And the riffing and drumming really illustrate that well, and the guitar work really reminds me of like undead specters waiting for you, almost like joining them in their solace and their peace, but leaving the ridden, pathetic world behind, like I said. And there's a lot of misanthropic overtones on here, like I said, and it's a great fucking track. Ice cold, chilling, hateful black metal, very dark and primitive. So let's check this one out right now here on Music of Destruction.
Wow.
And we are back, and yes, this is ice cold, chilling, hateful black metal. Banger. Absolute banger of ice cold despair and darkness. Hail Warghoul. Next up, we have Dawn of the Dead Empire, and this one has a lot of cold atmospheric riffs and drumming that work so well to chill your bones to the fucking core, man. And I honestly think that this is one of the greatest primal black metal albums out there, and you can certainly feel the emotion, passion, and conviction and devotion to making a truly legendary piece of art. And the militant drumming at the beginning to open this one is like a call to arms to honor the fallen warriors of a pure world untouched by greed and overpopulation. And that's what you get with this album. Like I said, it takes you away, brings you back to those ancient times when life was simple and beautiful, with a natural sense of a peaceful isolation that also comes out in the atmosphere, to be certain. Next up, we have the closer, Warborn, which is the longest song, clocking in at 5 minutes and 14 seconds. This is pure primal black metal bliss once again, with riffs that sound like a charge into battle with swords drawn, and a maniacal rage-fueled agenda that paints pictures of death and honor from the glory of destroying all opposition in an effort to cleanse this pathetic world of the vermin of humanity. This one is also really fast and frantic, with some amazing blasting and double bass with a primal raw production that give those ice cold riffs the atmosphere that's intended, with some awesome bass and vocal work from Nick that make this one of the most uncompromising black metal releases I've ever heard, ladies and gentlemen. And I really love this album. And what is strange is I never hear anyone talking about Warghoul, like I said at the beginning of the review, which is odd because this is a damn shame. This is an awesome album, and more people need to know about this release because it's some of the best black metal I've ever heard. Absolute classic. Pick it up if you can. Great album. And now we're going to come to the final verdict for Warghoul. Rat Kultura is getting a 9 out of 10. Killer fucking album. This also has 2 live bonus tracks that I didn't really want to review because the live tracks are very, very raw and primitive. They're great. Check them out. Get the album. Great album overall. Shoutouts time here on the channel with Shadows of Death Records. Go to shadowsofdeathrecords.com/list-2-music. Terry and the Pissing Razors and Texas Voodoo Stomp, thank you for being on the channel. Metal Ben's Chronicles, Acid Metal Backwoods Metal, Farley's Nerd Cave, and King of Swords. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button. We will see you guys in the next video. Cheers, everybody.